transfer. Ah. Ah. Mellow. It's not gonna be that easy.
よく言いますね、キラのくせに。
まだそんなこと言っているのか。
他にもキラを追う組織は存在しているのに、私があなたを疑い始めた時の襲撃です。タイミング良すぎです。少なくともあなた方の中にキラはいます。よく考えてみて。
Go on, Aizawa.
ライト君がキラ。またその疑いが強まった。前のエルもライト君をキラと疑っていた。
キラを支持する人間がいることは不思議に思いません。しかしそれはキラが悪人を裁くのを心の中で望むというタイプの人間についてのみです。ここに押し寄せてきているのはそれとは違う本当にくだらない人間。自分が楽しければいい。
Okay, of course he had a plan. It was never gonna be that easy. Oh, that's how he's gonna use the fortune. Watch these people eat each other now. Oh, the Kira armbands. Yeah. Human nature. You've said that a few times. No, I'm sure he has a plan for that. There go Demigawa's cams. Look at that. Oh, okay. There you go. That's his plan. I've seen this plan before. Yeah, of course they were. You're slipping, man. Come on. You just have to sit back and take this one. I mean, Aizawa was straight up just watching him there and his reactions. Yeah, better put those on. Of course. Someone's actually putting it out there. I like that the show took that approach. Oh, even Mogi's a bit uneasy. Looking like Zoro. She's all grown up as well. Oh man, this music is full of sadness. Reminds me of these moments. Oh. Yeah, that was key a few episodes ago. Oh. He knows that Misa's also going to come under suspicion again. Right, two of them, right? Including Misa. Yes. Yes, he did. Yeah.
そこまでは言えない。
Ah.
日本捜査本部の一員でエルの下で働いてるんだ。
わかりました。
But now he has to go
貴重
and
なお話ありがとうございました。
do his own investigation then.
それに肝心なことがわかりました。
Oh.
八神次長とキラの容疑をかけられた者は親子です。それしかありませんよ。キラを殺して自分も死ぬ。そこまで言えるのは二代目エル。そして私が今キラ
八神くん。
八神ライト。
正直に言う。私はニアに連絡した。
Yeah. I mentioned this. There's no need for it to be a secret investigation,
気
really.
にしないでください。僕も勧めたことですから。
I recommended it.
どんな話を？
キラが捕まるまで君を監視したい。悪いが、
There it
天音美
is.
様だ。
Light's already made the move on that.
万が一天音からノートが出ることもあり得る。
No, she doesn't. Not anymore, Aizawa.
いえ、どうぞ。
ライト君がキラではないという結果が一番だが、しかし、もし天音からキラに関する証拠が出れば、
Ooh.
その時はもう。
But that's the thing, though. She's gonna appear so normal now. He's taking care of that. As expected. I expected Light to, make a move as well, of course. He wasn't gonna just sit back.
この格好でノートを身につけるのは不可能か。
Yeah.
実はエルの自宅に爆発物を仕掛けたという情報があり、
納得いくまで調べろ、相沢。ノートは出ない。
So what's he... Again, the title of the episode, Transfer. And if I'm remembering correctly, in episode 29, Father, he asked Ryuk to follow someone, right? Jesus, look at this guy. Whoa. The Church of Kira.
うわ、悪趣味。
私じゃ頼れるか。
そうじゃなくて、前の髪じゃないとモンチッチじゃないし可愛くないから。
乃木、はい、すいません。お前が残れ。
キラ王国の完成のために一口100万で皆様からのご支援を受け付けております。
An actual Kira's kingdom, huh?
これでは怪しい団体と変わらん。
Of course, they're gonna use any chance to make money, right?
これでは逆に人々は離れていく。もうてめえは不要だ。しかし。
Oh, he's watching you like a hawk.
あ、お帰りなさい。
ライト君と天音の部屋にノートはなかった。
There's a quick flash of someone.
分かっています。
That's the guy, isn't it?
削除。
He asked Ryuk to follow him, didn't he? In episode 29? Delete. Oh, is Demigawa about to get his? He's quite flamboyant. Who is this?
削除。
Delete. There he goes. I knew he'll get his.
なんだこれは。
なぜキラがキラの支援者を？やりすぎを止めたってことですかね。そうかもしれません。
どういうことだ。天音美さんもライト君もノートを使う隙はなかったはずだ。
That is why he gave it to some. Who is it though?
やはり
Mikami.
僕の選択に間違いはなかった。
Okay.
僕の指示などなくともキラの考え、理想、
A fanatic.
いらぬものを理解し、
Oh.
実行に移せる。
That's handy.
デスノ
That's
ートの所有権を放棄させた。今頃は何を聞かれても答えられない。ただのものだだ。問題は
wow. The way she was presented there, almost like a doll.
常にテレビを通じてキラに話しかけていた男。キラを心から崇拝し、ノートを受け取っただけで自分は選ばれたと理解できる男。間違いない。
Prosecutor.
やつこそキラの手足となるのにふさわしい。死神、よく来てくれた。これで確実に死の裁きを下せる。神。
Oh. Oh boy, new player has entered the game. Okay, episode 31. Oh man, it's getting there. It's getting there. It's getting to its conclusion, but that's not stopping it from introducing yet another new character in the last stretch of the series, of the story. So now there's a third Kira, a new Kira, right? Again, like I said, bold choice to introduce him so late on in the series, in the story. But in that sense, he presents a bit of an exciting thought as well, because, no matter how much Light thinks he's got a handle on this, or, he has this airtight pick, and I'm sure he did his research, and the fact that he is a prosecutor certainly plays a part in that, surely. Light Yagami, clearly he did his research. Of course, it's off screen, this was kind of like a nice little surprise, I guess. But though I did mention, he asked Ryuk to follow someone, so they did set this up a few episodes ago. But yeah, the fact that he is a prosecutor certainly played a part in this, right? The fact that he is predisposed to judging and punishing criminals, of course that played a part in Light's research. Now, that being said, Light seemed quite sure of this, the hand of God, the right hand of God, essentially the God has his prophet, right? Because this new individual, Mikami, quite the flamboyant individual, kind of even resembles Light, similar type of hairstyle. But yeah, he's flamboyant. He's certainly a fanatic. He referred to Kira as God on that survey sheet. And, I keep calling him flamboyant because his technique of writing names down is quite something else, isn't it? Delete seems to be his catchphrase. But that felt like the most anime presentation, didn't it? He's these light streaks, the blue and red light streaks, as he's just like kind of in his office, right? In his office space, and he's just kind of like dishing out justice, right? And that's another thing. Yes, clearly this new individual, Mikami, immediately reminded me of Shinji Mikami, but Mikami clearly seems to be in line with Kira, right, and his justice. But it still remains to be seen if it's going to be exactly like Kira, right? What if he ends up being a bit more extreme than Kira, right? That's the outlier. That's the risky part here. Because again, Light was pushed to this. He didn't want to do this, but he had to do this. But because once again, he's under suspicion alongside Misa, as expected, right? So this is not ideal, but he feels like in this situation that kind of forced his hand, this is the best pick he could have made. So yeah, let's see how that plays out. But regardless of that, of course, this introduces something Light Yagami can't completely control, right? Much like how Misa first came into the story, right? At first, it felt like this outlier or this uncontrollable variable for Light Yagami, who likes to be in control at all times. He does not like others, meddling or, messing up his plans and ideas, or being this outside presence that he cannot control. That could, get him in trouble, right? So again, as perfect of a fit as he feels at the moment, and I'm sure in the next few episodes he'll do quite a bit for Kira or on Kira's behalf. He's already done it, he got rid of Demigawa, who kind of, this dude is out here, scamming on live television. Essentially, he's trying to get a palace made for himself. But, he's going to kind of frame it as, or he was framing it as, this institution, right? The Church of Kira, perhaps. And, he brought in partners and everything. Everyone wants a piece of the pie, right? And that was another thing that was kind of focused in this episode, how fickle people can be. And it turns out it was Kira, right? It was Kira, or new Kira, but someone who kind of, mimics or embodies the actual Kira's beliefs, right? As of this point, at least. Again, it's unpredictable. As of this point, no one really knows. As an audience member, I don't know much about him. Perhaps a backstory could be, or maybe there's not enough time for a full-on backstory, given there's only like a handful of episodes left. But spend a few minutes. Let's spend a few minutes at least to get to know him and some of his background. So yeah, let's see. It's a bold move, of course, bringing in a new character this late on. But the fact that he is being introduced means that he's about to play a big part, clearly, right? In the end game of this, be it a positive for Light or be it a negative for Light, or a bit of both, right? I personally think, yeah, it could go down that slippery slope of maybe he'll be a good thing for Light Yagami for a time, but then there might be a phase where, maybe his ideals are a bit more extreme and Light Yagami starts to panic a bit, right? Because others might notice this. They might notice that the demeanor or Light Yagami's, or sorry, not Light Yagami, same person, but Kira's ideals or his tactics or, his beliefs are a bit different all of a sudden, right? So others could catch on to that depending on how Mikami presents himself. So far, he's a fanatic. He is a prophet to the god. So it's kind of turned the clock back again to the phase of needing like an outsider to do Kira's business. Because again, Light is under suspicion once again. Beyond being under suspicion at this point in time, Nier is locked on and he is absolutely just, putting it out there for the task force. And, I mentioned that I love the approach they took here, or I like that they took this approach. It's really out there, putting it out there that come on, it's all there. Surely you guys have to, pick up on this, or you have to be suspicious at this point, or highly suspicious. And by you guys, I mean the task force. Now I'll return to the task force and Aizawa specifically because he seems to be the head of this, reignited Kira investigation. And you see slowly some of the others are also having doubts again. So I like that. I like that it's not just one or two. All of them except Matsuda essentially are kind of a bit iffy again about you even have Mogi, right? Ide, of course, watching him like a hawk. And then, of course, Aizawa is also watching Light Yagami throughout the episode. And of course, at one point, Light kind of reacts to Nier getting out of there, and Aizawa is watching on. So of course, Light Yagami has to kind of reel it back in a bit because they're watching now. They're watching. Though, of course, as expected, Light Yagami was prepared. He had something in mind. As expected, of course, Light Yagami, even though he has slipped up quite a bit since the time skip, and he was certainly outdone here by Nier, he's still Light Yagami. He still is quite capable, quite impressive. So yeah, as expected, he took care of that Misa problem, right? Because he knew if he's under suspicion again, Misa is also going to be under suspicion again because she was there. She was also detained for the exact same reason. So yeah, he took care of that. And, let's see if that is the end of Misa's storyline, essentially. There's a really jarring shot of her just sitting at home, just looking into nothing. And, I mentioned that she was presented as this lifeless doll almost, just sitting there, just being a housewife, essentially. As she mentioned, again, she's a bit deluded in that sense. She thinks, Light's looking out for her. He just wants her to be a good old housewife for him, and he loves her. I would love a bit more agency for Misa, but it feels like this is the end of her arc, essentially, because it really feels like they've set up this Mikami figure as a big plot point for the endgame, upcoming endgame. So yeah, Misa might be done. I'm sure she might come in at some point again. I don't know how big a role she's going to play at this point, but yeah, I don't know. To me, it felt like that might be it for her storyline. And, speaking of Misa, I don't think it should be much of a problem for Nier to figure out who the other Kira was. He's pinpointed exactly who Kira is. Now he's pinpointing it specifically to Light Yagami because, he put it together that it was his father, Chief Yagami. So that must be Light Yagami, or that must make Kira Light Yagami, right? And it was pretty much public news at one point, right? That Misa and Light Yagami, they were a thing, right? That they were dating. Fans showing up. This is, of course, around the time L is still around. But yeah, I don't think it should be a problem for him to figure out Misa was the second Kira. But, again, that's been taken care of. She's not really Kira anymore. She has no memories of any of that anymore. Essentially, that means that Nier knows there's going to be another one. There's going to be other people that have the powers of Kira, right? And again, he brought up, or he thanked Aizawa about, the information. And, one of the main aspects of that information being the Shinigami eyes that let you see a person's name. And he's trying to convince the task force to be a bit more vigilant, right? Really have a proper look at this again. And you see that for a moment, Aizawa is puzzled that, the Kira death or killings are happening on live television, yet, they've checked on Misa, nothing there, and Mogi is still there, and Light Yagami's sitting right in front of them as this is happening. So, I do expect, or I do hope he is going to realize or come to the conclusion that, okay, it has been passed on once again. That should be clear to them at this point, that that's a possibility, right? They know it's a possibility, right? So I hope this, I hope he doesn't get stuck up on this. I hope this is just a temporary speed bump. I'm hoping that he clocks that, the timing of this, the moment Light Yagami comes under suspicion again, all of a sudden now something's happening that almost immediately gets him off the hook. Killings are happening, but he's right here, right? It's too suspicious. The timing is too suspicious as near established for the task force. It's just all too convenient. Surely you guys have to be suspicious at this point in time. And they are. I just hope they keep on that path. Aizawa especially. And, speaking of Aizawa, they gave us a glimpse of his family life. It's great to see that things are much better. So I love that he took a few years off, figured out everything in his life. Family life seems to be good. His daughter's all grown up. Also in that sense, bit of a death flag feeling. But I don't know, man. I feel like, especially since it's all in the open now, I just don't think he's really going to be able to kill any of the task force members, really, unless it's like right at the end or something and he's really desperate and, has to just do something. But, the feeling I was getting from this episode is that it's really entering that end game now, because it's becoming really clear to a lot of people. Nier is really putting it out there in the open now. Okay, Kira is part of the task force. Like, it's out there, It's not that, secret it used to be early in the series, right? In the first half of the series. It's really out there now. And, of course, it forced Light Yagami to do something he didn't really want to do. And even though it feels like this is like an airtight option, ultimately, he can't be 100% sure how it might play out, how this individual might act out in certain situations, right? But yeah, of course, so far so good. He knew exactly that Kira does not stand for this kind of behavior, and he took out Demigawa and all of these associates on television. So far so good for Light Yagami. That reminds me, isn't the task force noticing that Ryuk kind of goes missing as he is standing beside Mikami, right, at the end there. So, of course, Ryuk is coming and going. And, of course, there's a quick glimpse of Mello, right, reestablishing him, entering Japan, I believe, right? So he's about to make his next move, hopefully, right? So that should be interesting. Of course, Mello is quite an explosive personality, quite an explosive character, another flamboyant character, much like Mikami. So, yeah, I am excited to see Mello's next move, because he tends to be quite explosive about his take on things, right? His approach. But, he's going to have to be careful, because there is another Kira out there and he has Shinigami eyes. And they don't know about this, or they don't know the identity of this new Kira just yet. Because I'm sure, they'll figure out, okay, Light Yagami's done something here and he's passed it on to someone else, right? A deputy, essentially. He called him the right hand to Kira. They'll figure it out at some point. But, he's going to have to be careful about the Shinigami eyes. Mihail. And of course, jumping back to Nier, I liked that one scene of them still being trapped inside that building, and he's kind of giving a commentary on society and these people, right? I like that he's realistic, of course, clearly an intelligent individual, so he's really realistic about the fact that, Kira has amassed quite a following, right? That's realistic. That's understandable. He gets the reasoning. He understands human nature, right? And he certainly understands human nature, because he also understands that, a lot of these people are just kind of jumping on a bandwagon. They're just silly people, stupid people, he called them, trying to have a good time. And of course, he makes it rain, and those Kira banners and flags get discarded really quick, right? As the real priority comes to the forefront, even for Demigawa, money, right? Cash is king. And as expected, they turned their heads, and Nier and his fellow SBK members got out of there. And that was quite the embarrassing defeat for Light, right? As I brought up in the last episode, how could he be so sure that Nier doesn't have any backups, or he doesn't have any plans or contingencies in this kind of situation, right? Of being cornered. So yeah, quite a defeat for Light Yagami there. And also he showed his hand. He gave it away as well. Like, he confirmed it. I mean, Nier was already pretty sure, but Light Yagami confirmed it to Nier. Even now, in this episode, he's still pushing it, right? He's still pushing it. Before, Nier got out of there. In this episode, you kind of get to see a few different types of Kira supporters, right? The people who jump on the bandwagon, You know, and that includes people like Demigawa. They're looking for personal gain out of this. And of course, on the other side, you have the true believers. You've got fanatics like Mikami, who's more than happy to carry out Kira's justice. And clearly he realizes that, you know, Kira's not able to do this himself at the moment. So he goes ahead and does it for him, right? Takes out the people on Kira's kingdom. So like I mentioned, so far so good. And I think that's about it for this episode. At least that's all I can really think of, to be honest. It was a pretty, you know, point A to point B episode. Of course, you know, a few progressions from things set up in the last episode, but it's still kind of in the process of playing out. And it's kind of moving further along slowly. But of course, the biggest part of this episode, or the biggest development of this episode, was the introduction of this new Kira, who could end up playing quite a major role, right? In assisting Light Yagami, or potentially the downfall of Light Yagami, right? It could be a bit of both. You know, again, he's unpredictable, or at least I don't know much about him yet, so I'm calling him unpredictable, right? So let's see. You know, I'm going to need a few more appearances to really get a gauge on this character and his disposition. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length or early access to the next episode right now, consider checking out the Patreon page. The link is in the description, alongside a link for Twitter if you're into social media. Consider following the Twitter account. You'll be helping the channel because it does help the channel grow its reach. But yeah, all of these are in the description or the pinned comment. But that's about it for this one. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for your time. And I hope to see you again soon for the next one. So until then, take it easy.